Inventory is one of those subjects over the past 5 years. We are constantly in contact with our customer about how do we solve this problem. We're going to talk about that today. When it comes to inventory, it is probably one of the number one things that we get asked all the time. And I want to show you the human side of inventory and how our solution can solve that problem for you. So let's dive into inventory a little bit. Thinking about what inventory is, how it works, it's really a complex problem because the reality of inventory, the platform is essential. But more importantly, it's for you to know the importance of your team and their involvement in inventory because it's a very human process. You see, inventory can only be managed if we have a good platform and a good system that a person can follow. This is typically where dealers fail, where our customers find the challenges is how do we instill a product that will give them the highest likelihood of success? Because when we think about shrink and we think about a 2 or 3 or 5 or 10% impact to the bottom line, this is something we can control. But what's important is that your technician knows how to use the system to ensure that the inventory that they're carrying makes sense to the work that they're doing. Plus, we need to control where they're getting the inventory from. In a lot of cases, we see that we don't have a well-organized storeroom, or parts room, where we know exactly where this inventory lives. We're getting deliveries midweek, right in the middle of the mix of things. It makes it hard to get it put away before we start pulling it out of a box or putting it on a truck. So what's important about that is that we have a system because now more of the technicians, your employees, can get involved in this day-to-day operations as it revolves around inventory because the accountability falls back on them. And why that's important to you as an owner is that you know that your technician is taking that subject more seriously. Let me give you an example. If today I was to come to work for you as your technician and I was pulling in to begin my day and I at least had something to reference, what did I use yesterday? So if a parts report was ran for me, I could go immediately pull those parts right from the shelf, right from your warehouse, typically because we may not have a full-time parts person. In some of our dealerships, we don't have that. So now I have been given and empowered with a list of parts that I can go pull directly from the warehouse and put those back onto my truck to restock my truck for the day. In addition to that, you may be handing me a couple of projects that are going to require additional parts. In those additional parts, you're able to show me these are the additional things that I'm going to have to put on my truck for the day. And again, in an easy to use platform, I can simply go to the warehouse, get the necessary parts, transfer them to my vehicle, and now everything I need to start my day and drive away from the dealership is in my truck and ready to go. Why is that important? Well, today, how are you managing that? Right? There's a bunch of different things that we've seen. It might be an Excel sheet. It might just be writing it down on a paper and turning it into, say, the office manager or to handing it back to the owner. There's a lot of different ways that we see this happening, but then it requires what? It requires another person to enter what it was or where did it go. Maybe we're just keeping track of what's being used based on the work orders that are being turned in. And this is where paper can get even more complex, or even Excel, or let's say a group chat, or some way of us communicating, hey, I was on this job, I was working on this machine, working on this asset, I did this work to it, here's how long I was there, here's the miles it took me to get there. The most important thing for you to know though is what parts I used and were they the right parts for that machine. So what makes inventory so unique is that with the wrong program, complex, hard to use, hard to understand, hard to access in the field and make a transfer, moving it from their vehicle to a work order or from a vehicle to another vehicle or from a vehicle back to the warehouse. These are all the kind of processes that need to be solved so that you can efficiently and effectively run an inventory program in your business. So why is that important? Well, If I'm a technician, as I said, I showed up for the day, now I have a parts list that I've pulled, I have maybe a special project that you put me on, and I'm ready to head out the door. At that moment, you know exactly what's on my vehicle. We have what we call cycle counts. This is a way for the technician or you or someone in the operation to be able to go out and verify how many of those parts do I actually have, and does that match up with the inventory that I'm supposed to have. There's another check and balance that we don't typically see or don't have a lot of, and by simply implementing the right program, having the right team to walk alongside of you to help you ensure that the process is working, and empowering your technicians to take responsibility for their day-to-day operation. Because when we do inventory right, it gives more responsibility to the technician. That in turn gives you more assurance that that technician is effectively doing their job each and every day. So the smallest of detail can be taken into consideration here. Inventory can be, as granular as you want, down to, wire nuts and, small nuts and bolts, if that's what we want to track. It's just essential for you to know your technician has to have easy access to that in the program, and they have to be able to easily apply it to a work order to ensure that they are effectively getting their job done and in fact recording every single thing that they're doing while they're in the field, while they're working on that asset. At the end of the day, where inventory trips us up is that the system doesn't work the way I'm explaining it. It's complex, it's complicated for a technician to know where to go, what they're doing, how to add it to the job that they're working on. There are a multitude of things that can happen, and where this falls short is accountability. Because you as an owner don't have a lot of time to go back and ensure all these little things are being taken care of. And because of that, you're not able to keep up on it. They don't think that it's important anymore because you don't have the ability to stay on top of it. And then it begins to slip. And it does go back to a human transfer of items. This is a matter of me saying this item belongs here, or this item was returned, or this item was taken from this location and added to this location. Where inventory gets slipped up and tripped up is where we don't have a process and procedure. What Optimum does is our operating system instills all of these things into your business. We bring the solution that works for you. We've built it for you so that it's easy to use, it's easy to see the process from start to finish, it's easy for you to keep track of on a day-to-day, even by hourly basis. And that, again, raises the level of awareness in your technician, raises the level of awareness in your entire team to know that this is important. And in fact, we've seen in many cases, personally, from dealerships where we've had conversation, where this becomes most effective is now we can turn around and see that technician's productivity at another level. Because when we start looking at items usage, we start looking at accuracy, we start looking at ensuring that the job was completed, everything that was accounted for, and we know that that's exactly what should be billed to that customer, that again streamlines the process right back to you. Now we know when we set a low stock alert, we actually know that something is going low because it's actually being recorded across your company from start to finish. That is the importance of understanding your turns in your business, how often you're turning product, your high volume product, your high dollar product, all those things that you carry that are very meaningful to you. How do you ensure that it's being handled in the same fashion and manner that you would want it to be handled by each and every person on your team? What Optimum can do for you is we can walk alongside your team, explain this process from start to finish, implement these processes and procedures into your business, and using a platform that's going to ensure your success. That's what's important to us as a partner with the companies that we work with, is the success of our businesses is what makes us successful. So we look forward to working with you and showing you exactly how the Optimum Operating System will improve the efficiency of your inventory program in your dealership. So if you want to see how the Optimum Operating System would work in your business, take our free business assessment in the description below. This is a great way for you to gauge where you are today and how we can help you tomorrow.